In this video, we'll discuss about various inbuilt data in our availability of good data, and is very important when you actually start doing data analysis, at least at the practicing stage. Because if you have a very reasonable kind of data, what you can do, you can analyze, and it will be very useful for you to, after the analysis, it will be very useful for you to interpret data, because we're getting the real sort of real life-based data actually. So then, as I said in the initial videos, that uh, the interpretation of analysis is very important step, and one should actually get more and more experience in order to understand how to interpret data, what kind of story that you're going to generate out of data, what kind of insight that you are actually going to develop out of data. So for that, it is very important you should have a reasonable data in this aspect. There are variety of data sources from where you can get data. You can go to the internet. There are many sites from where you can get very reasonable data. But R has an advantage. It has already inbuilt these data set into the software package. So I'll be talking about these inbuilt data actually, which R has. These inbuilt data can be very useful for you to at least practice a particular approach and method of data analysis. So you don't have to load data from outsources, other sources. The R has inbuilt, so you can directly call data and can work with that. How to get inbuilt data? The function for this, command for this is data blank. If you're keeping blank, it will show all options that has that your package is carrying. Remember, data in R inbuilt data in R can come in by two ways. One, when you load your software, there are some basic folder or packages in your software. Some of these packages are offering data, so you can get that inbuilt data. But in some cases, you may actually download or install new packages, and those new packages has inbuilt data. So your base package may have inbuilt data. Also, you can install a new package, and that new package has data actually. So in this part, what we're going to look at how our environment show this data. So I'm going to the R Studio uh, screen. So this is my Studio screen. What I said, data is a command, okay, that will show you data. But if you want to see all data, what you have to keep it blank and run this command. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Data blank, and I'm going to run the command. When the command runs, I think my R is taking little time. Uh, Still, because of many things are open, it will start running my command. So when the command runs, what happens? Still very slow. Yeah. Now it is giving me output. You can look at our data sets. And this is a list of all data set what is there in my package. So I have system package as well as user defined packages. All these packages have so many data sets. So we have a data set on air passenger. There is a little description about data. BJ says description is given here. CO2 description is given here. So be the other kind of data that you can work with. So this is how your R data can you can take your R data. If you're not very sure about what data you should use, okay, so what you can do is what data you should use. What you can do is you can type, or since I have a list of this data, what is the content of the data or a documentation of data, because this is only a list. You need to know about more about the data. Once you know more about data, you can work with that particular data. So for example, I would like to know what is this data air passenger. So what I can do, I'll type help, okay, and then be careful with spelling. It should be AIR, then P is capital, okay, passengers. It is automatically prompting me because it's already there. And if I type help air passenger, what will happen? Your help uh, window will be opened and it will show the documentation of this data air passenger. What is this data? This data is monthly airline passenger numbers 1949 to 60. So let us look at the documentation. Unfortunately, my R is running very slow, so it's not executing right now. It will take little time to execute. When you run a command, if you find this red button, what does it mean? It means that your command is running it. Depending on the system and computer, this command. Now this is actually done. So this is a kind of documentation of your air passenger data set. Its description, the classic box and junction airline data. This is what people are using. Monthly total international airline passenger from 1949 to 1960. This is usages. You have to type data air passenger. This will open up. This is the source from where the data has been taken actually. Okay, and this is an example of working with this data. This data is very popular when you learn time series forecasting. This is a very useful data set actually. So this is the kind of example people have given how to learn, how to take this data in order to learn time series forecasting. Okay, now I'll go back to my PPT screen to discuss about the other kind of data sets uh, and how do you call these data sets actually. So I've already discussed some useful data set that you can work with in R. Air passenger is one. Then we can use UCB admission. It's a student admission data. It's a three-dimensional table with numerical values. Let us look at how this data looks like. So I'll go back to the R studio and UCB admissions. Okay. So data. How do you call data in that way? Let me first delete my environment so that it would be easier to understand. There is nothing right now in my environment. How do I call air passenger data? I'll type data air passenger. Again, you have to be careful with spelling, otherwise it can prompt you. You better you take from the prompting. You run it. Your air passenger data is appearing here. In order to get the data, right now it is saying promise, so it's not showing you data. In order to get data, what you have to do, you have to type air passengers. Okay, if you get this, this is what your data is showing: air passenger time series 44 number, and this is how your data looks like: 1949 to 1960. It is number of international air passenger from January to December. It's a monthly data. Okay, so this is how you can get your data. I'm actually loading another data set, UCB admission. So data UCB admissions. Okay, run it. Now this is there. I'll say UCB admission, run it, and this is how this data. It's a table. It is three-dimensional table that has two rows, two column, and 6 seats in each. You can say column cell actually. This is how it looks like actually. So it's a three-dimensional table actually. Hmm? You can look at the first row, comma, comma. I'll discuss about this. It takes number of male, number of female, it, it's gender wise, and whether admitted or rejected actually. For department A, B, C, for different department, it gives this picture. Uh, how do you know more about UCB admission? Type help, UCB admissions, and we'll get a help of UCB admissions. Okay, this is how the three-dimensional data set is arranged. First dimension is whether admitted or rejected. Second dimension is whether person is male or female. Third dimension is whether she or he belongs to A, B, C, D, E, F, and this is a complete detail about data actually. Okay, I'll go back to my PPT. Yes, there. The other data is very popular data in machine learning. People use this very often in order to practice various approaches of machine learning. This is iris data, Edgar Anderson iris data. It's about a flower basically, and flower has different characteristics. It will be describing this, and it's a cross-sectional data. I think if you have known the data, I think in first or second lecture you were aware of what is cross-sectional data. So this is a cross-sectional data. I'll go back to my our platform. What I'll do, I'll press Control L in order to clean my console, and let us look at what is this iris, what this iris data is. First health, okay, then iris. You may find different version of iris, iris and iris 3. But right now, let us look at iris version. You type health. This is Edgar Anderson's iris data, which is famous Fisher's or Anderson experiment. It's very famous experiment in statistics has been driven from this data actually. Which what it gives a measurement in centimeter of variable, and there are three variable it has: sepal length, sepal width, and petal length. So these are the characteristics of a flower actually. So and what they have taken 50 flowers for each species, and there are three species which they have studied: Setosa, vesicolor, and virginica. So you have 50 observations for each flower, for each species. So there are 150 observations. So this is how the data set looks like actually. This data set is the data frame. I'll discuss about data frame later on. So how do you call this data? Data iris, you call this, and then you type iris. It is opening data. So this is a symbol for data frame. I'll discuss about it. If I click over it, it says there is one label is sepal length. These are kind of variables. Okay, one variable is sepal length, the other one is sepal width, petal length, petal. I can show you the data in this window. If I double click it, the data will be open in this window actually. Okay, iris data is open. Okay, let us look at how iris data looks like actually. So you have column sepal length, sepal width, sepal petal length, petal width, and there are observations. The 50 observation for species Setosa, next 50 observation for species Vesiculae, and the last 50 observation is for species Virginica. So it's a cross-sectional data that helps, and is very popular data for practicing machine learning, different tools of machine learning actually. So this is how this data looks like, and I would recommend you also work with this data. Not only machine learning, if you want to practice your graphs and other things, it is very useful data in the context actually. Let us move to the other data set, which is very popular in this part, is empty cars. Empty cars is a kind of motor trend car data set, a data frame with 32 observation and 11 variables. So I'll be discussing about this data. Let us go to the screen share. R. I'm cleaning my console, Control L. Okay. Now let us look at the help of empty cars. This is the description of empty car. The data was extracted from 1974 Motor Trend US magazine and comprises fuel consumption of 10 aspects of automobile design and performance of 32 automobiles actually. Okay. So there are different variables this data set use, and this data set is very popular in terms of practicing regression, doing machine learning. So this is very useful data in the context if you really want to work with that. Okay. How do you call the data? Data, empty cars, sorry, empty cars. You call the data empty cars, and this data is appearing. This is also a data frame, so I can click over here. This data will appear here. So there are 11 variables. These are different uh, you say observation, but these are different automobile type makes, and this is the performance condition of these variables. So this is how this data set looks like. Actually, it's very useful data. Yeah? So that's another data. Let me go back to the PPT. The next data set is sunspots. Okay, sunspot data set is the time series data which people have actually recorded the sunspot days, sunspot conditions from 1949 to 1983. It's a time series data. So in order to do forecasting, time series forecasting, this is a useful set of data. Okay, I'll go back to our studio, Control L, I'll remove everything, then we can call help sunspot. Hmm? So this is sunspot. You type help, you will get the data. This is a kind of data. Uh, whoever the source from where it has been sourced. And let us look at the data sunspot. Okay, then you say sunspot and run it. So this is the time series data. It's I guess month wise, or let us check it. This is how the data looks like. It's a month wise sunspot numbers from 19 for 1749 to 19 it's 1983. Yes. Okay. So this is what the data is actually. This is another set of data useful for time series analysis. I'll go back to the last data set is women. Average height and weight of American women. It's a data frame of 15 observation and 2 variables. So this is a large plus. There are many such data set. I'm just picking few one in order to give you exposure about inbuilt data in R. So let's go to our studio, Control L, then help women. This is the data, and it is basically the description about the data. It records two variables, height and weight of 15 women, okay, and 15 observations, okay, and this is the source of data from where it has been taken, okay, and you can call the data women. For the time being, let me remove everything from my uh, environment and this run this. So women is appearing. So then we can women call the data, and this is 15. Now it's again a data frame. You can look at how the data looks like. 15 observation, height and weight actually. This is also good useful data in order to understand basic statistics like correlation, regression, at least in the initial stage. This is very useful data. So in summary, R has the provision of many inbuilt data into it. These data set is useful for practicing understanding different approach and techniques of data analysis. So in future, we may be using these data set. It is very easy to take this data. So this is all about this video. Till then, bye bye.